Okay, so let's talk skills. It's super important that you're good at something when starting an online business. Because you can't just be the idea guy. Maybe you could 15 years ago, but honestly, today, with all the AI tools, no code tools, devs on Fiverr, and so on, and thousands of people launching side projects pretty much every day, just having an idea is basically worthless. I get new ideas every week, and that doesn't make me successful in any way. You have to bring something to the table, you have to have some kind of edge. And that's especially true for starting an online business, but also just for getting or having a job. And I don't mean that you need to know everything. You can't be a full stack developer and a growth hacker and a brand genius all at once. That's very difficult at least. But you need to be good at something, and whether that's writing good copy or designing good UX or being good at SEO or being a full stack developer or just being really good at selling. So you should ask yourself, what am I actually good at? And if your answer is I'm good at telling other people what to do, then that's not a startup, that's more like a fantasy. So maybe the startup world is just not for you then, or you should go out and acquire some skills before you launch your startup. Because in the early days of a startup, especially as a solopreneur or as a small team, you're basically doing everything yourself. There's no one you can just go and ask to do this and this. You have to do it yourself. So if you have no skills that will help you progress every day, well then it's not gonna work. So let me take you through what I'm good at, and also maybe more importantly, how I became good at what I'm good at. So first of all, I'm good at SEO. I've been working with SEO for many years and for many different companies within different industries. Then there's coding. I'm mainly self-taught and I've built quite a few products by now, and I can build and ship on my own. I'm also good at bringing a lot of energy and excitement into a process, and I'm good at getting stuff done basically and shipping fast. And I love testing stuff, so like making MVPs and getting them out there relatively quickly and then see if I can get actual people to use them. And that's actually one of the things that keeps me going. So these are basically the things that I lean on. You could say that they are my toolkit, and over time they've then become my edge. Okay, so how did I become good at SEO? Well, I started out working for a company in Munich that is very good at SEO. They own a lot of coupon sites, and the only way they are driving traffic into these sites is basically by optimizing them towards SEO. So for instance, if you search on a keyword like Zalando coupon code, they were very good at optimizing their pages towards these keywords. And also just by being surrounded by these very knowledgeable people, I just learned a lot. And I then moved on to work for Puma for some time, which gave me the insight in how a big company thought about SEO, which of course was a way more structured approach. Similarly, I also worked for a Norwegian company for some time, which had a similar big kind of company approach to SEO. So that's basically how I developed my deeper understanding of SEO. Okay, great. And now for coding, basically the reason why I started to learn how to code was because I was frustrated about always having to ask someone that I knew about whatever idea I had, and if they could build an MVP for me. That annoyed me so much. So finally I started actually learning how to code, and I started by just watching YouTube videos, to be honest. I then started building some tiny projects like a podcast ad calculator, and it was just a one-pager where you could basically easily calculate your podcast ad spend. And even though it was very simple and it was just a one-pager, it still felt amazing, I remember, to actually be able to build that. I then started doing different courses. So I did the Scrimper full stack course, I also did Codecademy, and I also did a coding bootcamp. And at the same time, I was building stuff, which is basically the best way to learn, I would say. So I built a transcription service, which was basically just using the Microsoft API. And I was also building a meeting scheduler app, where the idea was that meetings could not be longer than 15 minutes long, basically. And at the end of this coding bootcamp, you basically had to submit a project kind of similar to when you finish university. And that's when I made SERPMaze, which was a keyword tracker where you could basically see how your keywords were ranking on Google. And that one I ended up then selling later on Acquire.com. And since then, I've then built many marketplace businesses. The first one was one called NinjaBoss, which was a marketplace for buying and selling host-read podcast ads. Then there's Nordic Mugs, which is a marketplace for buying and selling Moomin mugs. And then there's My Spare Desk, which is a marketplace for basically turning your house into a co-working space. And by the way, for some time I also worked for an analytics company with a team of developers. Now and then, how do you actually become better at something? Well, there's no secret sauce, but it requires first of all time, and then it requires grind and discipline, and also grit and consistency. And remember that even though you might be the startup type, it's not always bad to have a job. It can actually be really good because first of all, you get some money, so it keeps you going month by month. That's always good. But secondly, it's a way to basically acquire these skills that you need in order to start a startup. So by having a job for a certain period, you will acquire these skills that you need in order to start a startup. The only thing you should remember is that you of course want to get into the companies that are the best within whatever skill you want to become better at. And usually that is other startups basically. So if you can find a job in a startup that is maybe 1 to 2 years old and then work there for some time to acquire the skills that you want to have, that is a great way of actually becoming better at whatever skill. And one of the most underrated skills is actually learning how to learn. So if you can teach yourself new things your whole life, then you're always going to be fine basically. And usually the best way to learn is to build something or to do something. Kind of like what I'm doing with this YouTube channel. And just remember that it's usually not enough to just watch videos or to read blog posts, right? The way we learn the best is usually by doing something. That's why we in school basically are assigned homework, because when we do homework, that's when we actually learn. And let's also just talk AI for a second, right? Because we all know that AI is mainly awesome. It really helps us make whatever much faster. And within coding, it makes it much faster. And as a non-coder with no technical skills, you can basically now build something by just asking the AI to build for you. But the thing is though, if you just keep on doing that, you will eventually crash. And when you then crash, you have no idea how to fix it. So it will always be better to have the fundamentals, to have some skills so that you can basically get out of the hole once you crashed, if you know what I mean. And remember that just because you know how to prompt an AI, which everybody knows how to do now, that doesn't mean that you know how to prompt the right questions, basically. And that's what you will know if you have a deeper understanding. So here's the bottom line, basically. You can't build a startup if you're not good at anything. You can't just think that you can outsource everything. That's not gonna work. You have to be good at something. Ideas are super cheap. Execution is what matters. And execution comes from skills. So my advice is to go out there and find your thing and then double down on it basically. And if you haven't found one yet, then start doing stuff, start building stuff, and then you will basically learn a lot of stuff and you will then start acquiring skills. You will also mess up on the journey, but that's how it all starts, right? So I would love to hear if you agree or disagree in the comments. You're also very welcome to post your superpower skill in the comments. And until next time, see you. Bye bye. Ciao.